Longest-suffering UK COVID-19 patient returns home after 141 days in hospital and 105 on ventilator.
Here's a summary of the article.
A woman, who spent 141 days in hospital battling COVID-19, pneumonia and sepsis, has finally been able to go home. Fatima Bridal, 35, fell ill with coronavirus after returning to the UK from a month-long trip to Mohammedia, Morocco. Mrs. Bridal, a former lab technician, spent nearly the whole of the UK lockdown in Southampton General Hospital fighting the virus. She was in a coma for 40 days and had to be put on a ventilator when her lungs collapsed, spending 105 days on the life-saving machine. She described the pain she suffered from the ventilator as horrific. One of Fatima's lungs collapsed, so she will never be able to breathe at full capacity again. Mrs. Bridal is now being monitored at home by medics and has said she hopes to work for the NHS. Health Secretary Matt Hancock said he was absolutely thrilled by news of Fatima's recovery.
This post received a score of 23,000, with an upvote ratio of 96%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Greater than she described the pain she suffered from the ventilator as horrific. She said, "I wished I was dead at one point. It was so scary and terrifying. I wanted to scream out, but I couldn't." Sad face. "I can't even imagine how bad 100 days have to be." Edit, sorry for my English, I'm not a native speaker. "Nothing was as bad as the days I had with the ventilator. Which makes this thing so bad. It can cause heart failure and brain damage. We have no idea how bad the long-term effects are even in people with no symptoms."
Can you describe what it feels like and why it's so bad?
It's psychologically hard because you can't breathe on your own, so your mind thinks something really wrong and you're dying.
Aren't you under anesthesia?
They're sedated, but current best practice is to give patients breaks from sedation if possible and to also use as little sedation as possible while still keeping them stable and comfortable. So usually once a day we turn the sedation down and see how the patient does. Most people freak out, which can interfere with how well the ventilator delivers breaths. These windows of time off sedation are probably what people are talking about when they talk about how horrible it is.
I got the highest respect for people who work in these jobs. Especially in these difficult weeks and months. Thanks for what you're doing.
105 days on a fucking ventilator? How does she still have lungs at this point?
She will never fully recover lung function.
She could get a transplant.
Yes. Technically, it is a very extreme solution and only done when absolutely necessary, as in, death is certain without it. She won't ever be able to breathe properly again, but she won't necessarily be killed by it, so why transplant? Especially when you consider the following. 1. Transplant patients have to be on drugs for life that IIRC are immunosuppressive to prevent organ rejection. 2. People can very easily die on the operating table during a surgery like that. 3. Lungs are in short supply these days and always.
Agree with ya, but China probably disagrees with number 3.
Fuck, man, phew.
As someone who has severe respiratory issues that has led to hospitalization, I cannot imagine what this woman went through. Not being able to breathe properly is terrifying, and to endure that for 5 months is a nightmare I'd never want to live through. I hope she's able to lead a normal life after this, and that her respiratory issues have ceased.
Greater than one of Mrs. Bridal's lungs collapsed and she will never be able to breathe at full capacity again.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.